For disclaimer purposes, this video is not intended to fearmonger anyone. It is not to spread fear among the society. And it is not to put down any section or industry of the society. Also, to mention that this is just for educational purposes and information, and every consumer has the right to know and should be aware of what they are putting inside their bodies. And this is why I'm here with that. All right, now let's talk about milk. Should you drink milk? Should you not drink milk? Why milk is good? Why milk is bad? All of that stuff. And we are also going to discuss milk substitute you could use. And hey, we are not going to talk about the animal cruelty part here because we all are aware of that from this point. And I think this video will be more about nutrition part. And yes, it would relate to the cruelty part, and we'll find later in this video how it does. The first thing today, the conventional dairy has this limitation is they inject their cows and buffaloes and cattles with these hormones, and these hormones are growth hormones, especially bovine growth hormone, and it's so lethal. You can google it. There are so many ample of researches on bovine growth hormone linked to cancer cells. It basically fuels the cancer cells, and that is why when we put patients off dairy free, their cancer, their aggressiveness of the cancer cells goes down drastically. And this bovine hormone, you would have seen, there's a disease called mad cow disease. And then this is due to that bovine injection. You could even YouTube it. You could see how lethal it is on the cows as well. And what we are essentially putting inside our body is this white liquid filled with these hormones, and we're just chugging it down glasses and glasses. This There's so much, despair in the society when I see some villagers now in the urban areas, and they are just traveling with this tetra pack or the packet of milk, and they're so proud that they're carrying milk. Do they even know what is in that milk? They're so slave to their habits. They're so slave to their emotions. I would say, you know, to the belief system and the traditional way of practices that is being done from their, parents, ancestors. But the time requires some change. If there's change in the outside world, you would have to actually comprehend what's going on inside and change according to it. You have to accommodate, but you're still drinking that milk thinking, oh, it's good, it's give us nutrition. We are going to discuss more about this in the later part. The second thing with the milk today is it is filled with antibiotics. So what happens, there are these cows, there are these buffaloes, all the cattle. Now this conventional dairy is what, a business, and it wants profit like every other business. So the profit needs to be higher. And that is why, if your health is compromised or cattle's health is compromised, why would I care? And that's what's happening there. So these cattles are injected with antibiotics because they are not taken care of properly. They're not being bathed properly. Their dung is sitting there. There are flies, mosquitoes biting them, causing them redness, itchiness, all of those diseases. And so to prevent these diseases from actually happening, what they are do what they are doing essentially is vaccinating them with antibiotics. And do you know the kettles today get more vaccinations and antibiotics than humans, and we are consuming that, you know, white liquid with those antibiotic as well. So now you just don't have growth hormones; you have antibiotic and growth hormone in this white liquid. Now this antibiotic, if you constantly put it inside your body, so when you actually get a disease, you actually get a fever, you get a typhoid, the antibiotics you would be injected with would not work because now the bacteria which is causing you the infection has become resistant to the antibiotic, and there is coming a resistant strain, And this is actually all over the world today. And there is serious concern about this resistant strain because how frequently the antibiotics are being prescribed from doctors' offices to everywhere. And hey, I'm not against any doctor. I respect them. I work with them. But the thing is, you don't need antibiotic for every single ailment. If you have a headache, if you have a fever, if you have a joint pain, what you are given is an antibiotic. It's not needed every time. And there will be an epidemic where people will become essentially antibiotic resistant. So these antibiotics are also of, higher dose than what we consume ourselves because the cattle's body is big, their physiology is actually vast than us, and that is why the dosage is higher. The next thing is the milk today you are drinking is just pure, clean, white liquid. It does give you calcium, it does give you protein, but only when it is not pasteurized. Pasteurization of milk was never to kill out the microbes. It was to profit the dairy industry. So I would break this down for you right now. You take cows and you have like 100 of cows. Now you cannot go and milk every single cow with your hands. It would take a lot of time. So what did the man do? He put electric pumps on the udders of cows. Now, how the electric pumps work is that it gives a shock to the udders of cow and stimulates the udders to release milk. In a traditional way, when we, milk out the cow, we do it with our hands, and the warmth and the motion of our hands stimulates the udders to release milk. But there's this electric shock which just gives the signal and the cow has to release milk. Now, what happens over time is that this uh, pump causes abrasions on the udders of the cow, and there is pus coming out, and they're still wounded. Now, they saw it and they felt that milk was not clean, and that milk had E. coli in it, and that is why they had to pasteurize it. Think about it. It was not about killing the germs present in milk. It was about to clean the milk. It was about to clean the pus, which was happening because of the condition that cows were put in. And not only this, but the dung which was accumulated over time there. The pump would fall on the ground, and again they would be put right onto the udder without being cleaned. And that is why the dung of the cow would get mixed with that pump and again cause the bacterial infection into the milk. And then they pasteurize milk. So, pasteurization is essentially heating milk to a very high temperature, and this would kill every nutrient in that milk. And you must have heard you get protein, 3 grams of protein per 100 ml of milk. You get 60 mg of calcium. But is that true? How much of that is bioavailable? And it's absolutely fine for industries to mention it back on their Tetra packs, on their packets about the nutritional content. But you never know how much of it is bioavailable. So you flip the packet and read 3 gram of protein per 100 ml, 60 mg of calcium per 100 ml, and you feel like, wow, I'm getting my protein, I'm getting my calcium. Then tell me why most of India and United States, the highest consumer of dairy, have the highest cases of osteoporosis. We are drinking milk and a lot milk. Why we are the leading country in osteoporosis? There's something we need to reflect on. So, what essentially this pasteurization does is that it makes the calcium insoluble, it makes the protein, it denatures the protein essentially. And when you drink this milk, the pasteurized milk, the conventional milk, your body becomes acidic. And now your body needs to leach out calcium from your bones to alkalize it, to buffer it. Now you were drinking milk thinking that it would give you calcium, but in turn, what it is doing is actually it is leaching out the calcium from your bones, making your bones weaker, less dense. And that is why people who even are on calcium supplements, calcium tablets, eat their calcium supplements, drink a lot of milk, but still they're unable to, get cured of osteoporosis. I mean, there's something we actually need to get into and reflect on. And then there's protein. The protein is insoluble, it is denatured anyways, you're not getting anything. That is why I told you that milk is just pure, clean, white, clear liquid. And you might have understand why pasteurization was done. So you don't have to do the pasteurization if you are getting your milk from ethically sourced cows or buffaloes. That is something you need to remember. And the cows should be well fed, should be proper sanitation, and there should be movement given to them as well. Now, the next thing is the milk, which is not pasteurized, is having raw enzymes which help you digest that milk. It has lactase enzyme which digests the lactose sugar in the milk. So when we put people who have lactose intolerance even on unpasteurized milk, I'm not using the term RAW milk here, but unpasteurized milk, and they have healed themselves or those lactose intolerant. But it's just like when they drink unpasteurized milk, they suddenly are able to digest the milk. Why? Because of the presence of raw enzymes in milk. I mean, nature intended that if you want to drink milk, drink milk. And nature is also providing you with the essential enzymes to digest that milk. And milk is the best food. It's everywhere, it's in the studies, it's the best protein, but it's only when it is ethically sourced, it is the pure form of milk. And that milk is actually, very wholesome food. It's the only food all over the planet which has everything you actually need. That is why in even Ayurveda text, it is mentioned that if you drink milk, drink it alone as a meal, not as a snack, not as a replacement, or with your meals. No, but as a meal. And if you are drinking milk, I would suggest you to limit it off. And hey, I'm not here to make that decision for you. But if you come to me with a specific condition which actually requires you to go off dairy, I would put you off dairy. And that would make your journey very easier on healing. So you must be thinking, what should I give to my baby? He's just 2 year old. I would suggest give them goat's milk. Or if you are able to breastfeed them right now as well, do that over that conventional dairy. And that conventional dairy is of actually no use. I had rather fast than consume this conventional dairy milk because it is actually of no use. I mean, you're better off staying without it than on it. But if you are getting ethically sourced A2 desi cow milk, you may go ahead if your lifestyle permits that. But we have seen a lot of patients who are off milk, off dairy, getting of asthma because of the mucus, getting of cancers, getting of migraines, psoriasis, eczema, cold and cough, fever, all of these common symptoms, even diabetes in some cases. But we have also seen people who heal on milk as well. Yes, there are some people who actually thrive on milk, but that's subjected to their bio individuality. If you see in villages, they are chugging like 1 liter of milk every single day, and it works for them. It works for their lifestyle, it works for their genes, it's in their genes. They are milkmen from what, 200 years. They're carrying it in their genes, heredity. Ancestors used to do that, and they're still doing it. But it's because their lifestyle, they are genetically made that way. They are, you know, consuming milk from a long time, and that is why they have no problem. But there are still chances, and there comes a time when their the body's capacity of digesting milk lowers, but they're still chugging it. And I'm talking the milk which they actually milk from their own buffaloes and own cows, and not from the conventional dairy. And lastly, and this is very interesting, even I did not, expected this. We experimented milk sample in our college back in the days, and we found out. Oh, back in the days doesn't mean like 2 years. It just I guess 2 months ago or 1 month ago, and we found out that milk had formalin in it. Now, formalin is added to preserve the milk, but that preservatives increases the shelf life of milk, but decreases your shelf life. And that formalin is actually illegal to be added. And that, you know, the industry, the company is very famous. It even has its parlors all over India, and it does not start with A. But that formalin causes you, bronchitis, tumors, loss of consciousness, pneumonia, nephritis. And I mean, why are we even consuming? Why are we even fueling the profit driven industries over health? If you go off dairy, go with mindful practice, and don't just, think about drinking milk when you're going off dairy, off milk. I mean, I would give you an instance here that you thought, let's go off milk, off dairy. There was this guy, Chakshu, who told us to do that, and let me experiment. Do it, but don't constantly create that after 3 days I would have milk, after 3 days I would have milk, or uh, I'm not permitted to have milk right now. If you constantly think that, you would want to consume milk. Yes, you would want to consume milk, and you may break your promise to yourself. But what you could think instead is, now that I'm dairy free, I get to enjoy plant based milk. I get to enjoy coconut milk, almond milk, cashew milk, ragi milk. And yes, ragi milk, if you are drinking it, if you were drinking milk for calcium, ragi milk would be actually better one. And there are so many calcium sources today you could eat, like sesame seeds, even your legumes and lentils. I mean, I have not found anyone in the normal population who is calcium deficient. It is only the marketing which sells you those calcium supplements and tells you that you are calcium deficient, but you actually are not. You may be vitamin D deficient, and 95% of Indians are vitamin D deficient. But that's another thing. And here we are talking about calcium. And if you're taking a normal balanced Indian diet, it has enough calcium to sustain your body, and you can thrive on it. Only you don't have to, be taking acidic things which actually leaches out calcium from your bones, like cold drinks, sodas, phosphoric acid, caffeine. You can do coffee and tea only after your breakfast and not when you are actually fasted. Now, as I talked earlier in the video about cruelty part, so I'm not gonna talk about the cruelty here, but it's something related to it, and it is actually when you give pain to an animal, and the suffering, that suffering comes out into that food. It would come out into that milk. So you're basically torturing a cow for your profit. You are beating it up. You are tying its legs. You are not providing them movement. You are not feeding them the real food, and that vibrations, that those thoughts would affect their physiology, and that would affect the milk you are drinking. So you're essentially, again, if you are talking from a spiritual perspective, you're drinking someone's pain in this white liquid. And I mean, you need healing right now. Why would you and could you afford to actually take someone else's pain inside your body right now? Is that the need? Is that the demand of the time you are in? Think about it. You are giving, not you directly, but let's say if I buy conventional dairy, I'm actually supporting that practice. And I'm not telling you to go vegan here. It's your person's choice, and I respect all the vegans. You do a lot, and I am very, very grateful and respectful towards everyone. But we're talking about the spiritual perspective here. So you're just drinking someone else's pain, and I mean, you need healing right now. Can you afford to take? I mean, you have your own pain. Can you afford to take someone else's pain into your body? Because vibrations, the thoughts, the feeling, it actually vibrates at that feeling. It is very documented, it is scientifically documented, and it is physics. It's not philosophy, it's physics. It is there. We have, our mind has effect on every single matter, our thoughts and vibration. Think about it. The kettles there are suffering, and they are they're not giving milk, they're being taken, the milk is being taken away from them. And then there's their calf. If you see their eyes, it would be like their calf is yearning for their milk, but we are taking it away. Again, another thought and vibration, that they're not giving me milk, they're taking it for their purpose. How selfish, how derogatory it is, how, I mean, lower karma it is. And I personally don't want to create that karma. I mean, it's better to not eat anything, to drink water, than to drink that white, clear liquid. That is it for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you understand that and make that decision for yourself and respect bio individuality.